Hi guys, welcome to today's episode. Today I am going to talk about my first steps as a homeschooling parent. When I made the decision to homeschool, I just thought it was a walkover, like it's not something that, it's complicated. But the truth is, you will fully understand homeschooling when you actually do it. I realized from day one that this is a responsibility. It is a daily commitment. It's not, just a by the way kind of, way of doing things. I realized that I am stepping into something that requires me to commit to it fully, and I need to be responsible for it. The decision to homeschool sounds simple on paper. The moment it becomes real, that's when you truly understand that you're responsible for your child's education. There is no bells ringing, there is no teacher's update, there is no school bus that is waiting for that child to pick them up to school, or you have to, take them to school or drop them somewhere so that they are picked. And that realization changes everything. On day one, when we were starting, I had thought that whatever furniture I had was good to go. And when the child started their schooling, that's when I realized that, that child cannot sit on the sofa and write on the table because of how they are hatching, they're bending their backs, yeah? And so that is not something that had crossed my mind. For me, I thought homeschooling, just as long as you have the curriculum in place and you have the materials, that is just fine. But I realized that I had to get the right furniture for the child, and of course I did not get it immediately, but that is something I realized from day one. And it was not about just furniture, but setting up a space that will be a consistent learning environment. It is so easy for the child to be distracted at home, especially if there are other siblings around, or you tend to have visitors come over, or maybe you have something like, workers around, and that traffic of people coming in and going out. If that is happening in the space where the child is learning, the child is going to be easily distracted. So I realized that it's not just even about furniture, but setting up a space for the child to learn, a space where the brain will register that this is a learning space in the child's mind. And it should not be something fancy. It should not be something expensive, something affordable, attractive. You make it, you put it in a way that, or you make it in a way that the child learns, staying in that space. A simple desk, or a desk, having shelves, not shelves, but drawers where they can put their things, you can, if it can have a colorful paint, depending on the child's, preference, that is still fine. The first real challenge that I got was attention. It was not academics. It was not that the child was not getting the concept, what they were learning. No, it was attention. Because just as I've said, I did not create a learning environment for the baby. And so the child was easily distracted by the so many activities that were happening, because the child was basically in the sitting room. I am not saying that the sitting room is not the best place, but you as a parent, know which space is good for your baby. So if you don't have distractions, the sitting room can still work. If it is the bedroom, it can still work, or if you have a study room, it can still work. But all I'm saying, let there be a space for the child that is not easily distracting the baby. I noticed on that day one that unlike traditional way of schooling, there is no pressure. You don't need to finish the lesson after 40 minutes, or 45 minutes. The curriculum that I had chosen then, I was doing it myself, but later on I switched to another curriculum. And we would repeat something over and over and over again, until you feel that the child has gotten that bit, because it came in sections, what you need to cover on a particular day, a particular section. And the good thing is this: it was designed in such a way that it is not overwhelming to the child. It was not back to back like the traditional way of schooling is, 40 minutes English, 5 minutes break, 40 minutes mathematics, 5 minutes break, double science, no, it wasn't structured that way. So I realized that, there was no rush, and the child was getting ample time to understand the concept that we were teaching on that particular day. The time the lesson was getting over, or the day was getting over, I was reflecting, and I realized that homeschooling is not replacing school. Homeschooling is not replacing traditional school. The kind of hard work that is needed there is needed at home. If anything, more discipline is needed in homeschool than in the traditional schooling system. Consistency is needed, such that the child is able to build from one principle to another. It is about taking responsibility for shaping how that learning happens. It completes the lessons on that particular day, because our pace was really, really slow, especially with the writing. It was really slow. But you know what? Something happened. And it was that we had started. Starting is the most important. Homeschool is not one-sided. As the child is learning, you are learning as well as a parent, because you are actively involved in that child's education.